Hello, I'm going to discuss radioactive pollution with you guys. The release of radioactive substances in the environment can cause humanity irreversible damages and also to the environment and to our public health. First of all, I would like to address that there are various forms of radioactive materials and how common they are in our daily lives, that we would never even take it as dangerous or harmful. There are some even in our wristwatches. They contain gaseous tritanium light sources. Also, our smoke detectors have 2 positive and 2 negatively charged ions that trigger the alarm when smoke breaks into the constant flow of ions. The fun fact, a smoke detector was discovered in an accident in 1960s. But did you know that even when you snack, you are ingesting some form of radioactive potassium, potassium 40 to be exact, which according to the EPA means that it can emit 0.01 millitrem or 0.1 microsieverts. Imagine taking a swim into a lake and later finding out you have an organ damage or a possible mutation. Although this isn't common in regular lakes, but it is if you're swimming in radioactive water. This can occur if you're swimming in a lake where there's a nuclear plant nearby. So it's very wise to inform yourself where you're taking a dip. Radioactive waste is hazardous because it contains an immense radioactive particles that can put your health at risk. This is on EPA.gov, Bradtown radioactive waste. The effects on our body. These are the effects that radioactive waste can have on our body, and this includes nausea, vomiting, fatigue, and in severe cases, organ damage or even death. It is important that we push humanity to find a solution to nuclear power plants and their nuclear waste and getting rid of it and to decay properly. Weapon testing and to find a proper way to dispose of all of this instead of exploding it on islands. When there is direct exposure of radioactive pollutants in our environment, this impacts directly contaminates plants and animals through contact with the contaminated soil or water. And it also causes radiation damage to their tissues. And if it's an animal that we commonly eat, like for example a cow or a deer, it can indirectly affect us. Radiation can damage our DNA, leading into a mutation and potential genetic abnormalities. It could be either now, or if it doesn't show in our body, it could be in the possible future for a future generation of affected organisms. Radioactive contamination can disrupt the balance of our ecosystem by impacting the populations of key species, affecting food webs and overall biodiversity. I have 3 big examples of radioactive pollution incidents. The Chernobyl disaster in 1986. This is a catastrophic nuclear reactor explosion in the Ukraine, releasing large amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere, containing vast areas of Europe. The most recent one being the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in 2011, wherein a tsunami-induced meltdown at a Japanese nuclear power plant resulted in a significant radioactive contamination in the surrounding environment. Lastly, the 3 Mile. The 3 Mile incident occurred in close to home in a nuclear plant in Pennsylvania. This resulted in a limited release of radioactive material in 1979. But overall, and this is not to scare, but to inform, our bodies as humans can adapt to a lot of things. And we are surrounding sometimes without even knowing that these reactants or nucleotides and radioactive nucleotides without the proper knowledge of the damage it can cause if it was to happen as a mass population as a whole. There are ways to avoiding swimming into pit mine lakes or drinking from water and springs that have nearby uranium mines. Some people like to take dips in lakes and they don't even know that, or they feel like it's warmer. The warm release of the from the nuclear waste comes down in there and it feels warm to them, so they'd rather take a dip in that lake and instead of doing the research, or they see it as non-harmful. But the bigger problems we face is up to our government and to properly address the regulation and monitoring EPA to track background radiation levels and to properly get rid of nuclear waste storage. In this speech, I happily discussed a concerning issue that I have, an informative topic in which I feel all humanity should be engaged in spreading awareness. I hope to spread knowledge and less population around the world. Thank you.